choice of work.
Are you ready?
I am ready. How are you, Mr. Mayor?
Good.
Everybody's
All hands
ready.
on deck here. Everybody, welcome to our celebration of Bastille Day and also the official flag raising. Thank you for all coming. And if we are ready,
As I said to Charlotte, this is my annual gym.
Yeah, he was the pull.
Yes.
He was
Gonna
the
pull.
work, right?
How does it work? I have to pull here.
Have your hands on this as well.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Let's go. All right.
Well, that's pretty good exercise.
Et voilà.
Okay. Excellent job.
Wonderful.
Congratulations
Thank
again.
you very much.
Happy Bastille Day, everybody.
Now we're going to go to the balcony and have a wonderful ceremony.
Yes, yes. Please,
Hate to
everyone,
leave- hate to
join
leave
us on the
sun.
balcony.
Right.
Okay, let me take a big.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I guess it's almost afternoon. We are so proud and so delighted to fly your red, white, and blue in front of our City Hall, a beautiful, beautiful Beaux-Arts building. I think you that are French Americans will recognize that. You know, the first Consul General came here in 1850. Napoleon thought this was a place that was going to have a lot happening, and little did he know how much was going to happen. Good thing he didn't come, right? At any rate, we also had one of the largest French communities per capita here in San Francisco. So I'm thinking that because of that influence, that the French had a great deal to do with dictating and supporting a building that was Beaux-Arts. So welcome to this building, and I would like to introduce the proprietor, the landlord, and he too is not collecting taxes today, but is celebrating Bastille Day with you. Mayor Lee.
Thank you. Thank you to our Chief of Protocol, Charlotte. Wonderful. Consul General, congratulations again, and thank you for being here to allow us and our sister city committee in our city to officially raise the flag of France and to, for a moment, or maybe a day, or maybe a whole weekend, celebrate our relationship with countries that are valuable partners in the international world, but also, as Charlotte said, have historically contributed to the quality of life in our city, to our history, to our art. And I know that our director of our War Memorial, our director of our Art Commission is here. Of course, Senator Wiener, he wants to be French today as well. So we're all French today celebrating something, a culture that we really find valuable. And just for a moment, I got to rethink through a little bit of our history. As Charlotte said, that this beautiful building we had of the Beaux-Arts did have a history when the designer, Arthur Brown, studied art in Paris and in France, as he then designed something that we think is a close resemblance of Les Invalides in Paris. We also have a Legion of Honor, beautiful building that follows, I think, a pattern there of the French Pavilion. So that art is a wonderful contribution to our city. As valuable as that, I got to revisit a little bit of history. And while I am a descendant of Chinese immigrants, I know the French were here even before the Chinese were here, occupying perhaps some of the overlapping space in Chinatown. And so I know that they were early settlers, and again, they were probably one of the first major minority groups in San Francisco to have arrived back in the 1800s. So I want to celebrate that as part of the history of the city, and thank all of you for joining on this day, this Bastille Day, when we not only raise the flag, we honor the relationship, and for these days, I think we need more of our European partners to really be part of our advancement of an international city like ours. A few years ago, I had the very distinct pleasure of visiting Paris, and at the invitation of then the Paris mayor. And I got to meet someone who was the vice mayor, who now today is the wonderful mayor of Paris, Mayor Hidalgo. And I had a chance to be in that city as we all gathered to really was excited to reignite the Sister City Committee and all the wonderful exchanges that we had. Looking forward, we also have a lot of anticipation because next September, something wonderful is going to be occurring in Paris, as it is all the time. A lot of wonderful things happen, but for the first time in the history of the Ryder Cup, it'll be held in Paris, September of 2018. As someone who loves that sport, I'm going to be traveling there as part of that particular event, but also joining at our sister city some events that will also accent, if you will, that presence. So that's another thing to really look forward to in terms of relationship building. Two great cities who love and perhaps will embrace this wonderful game of golf, but on an international stage where international players get to meet each other and again, do that relationship building that I know the Consul General's role is, to build those relationships through everything, through art, through education, through business, and of course now through an international sport called golf. So wonderful things are happening, great things in the backdrop of history, and I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to everyone in our French-American community, but also to join in celebrating Bastille Day, French-American Heritage Day here in San Francisco with this official proclamation.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
And may I please introduce our Consul General, Emmanuel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Mrs. Chief of Protocol. It's so wonderful to be able to celebrate Bastille Day with you in a place where we feel at home. So thank you very much for your kind words. Thank you very much for your support. I would like to thank you for several things, in fact. The first one is that you allowed us 2 months ago and 3 months ago to organize our elections in San Francisco. We had 4 rounds, 2 for the presidential elections, 2 for the parliamentary elections, and we had 2 polling stations in San Francisco. We, France, open polling stations everywhere in the world, but we do it in agreement with the mayors of the city. So thank you very much for that. It was a very important election for us. And on this occasion, we saw that the French community in San Francisco is growing. Because before the election, we had to register everyone, and many people wanted to make sure they could vote. And so at the last elections, we had around 20,000 registered people, and now we have 26,000, which is a proof of how the French people love San Francisco and admire San Francisco and can learn from San Francisco. I would also like to thank you for something very important to our heart, which is your dedication to the fight against climate change. And you supported the Paris Accord, and you are very vocal in the United States and in the world about this very critical issue for humanity. Thank you for that, because it's the way we can persuade everyone. And we French have a lot to learn about how you in San Francisco implement environment policies. We received the delegations of senators in September last year, and they had wonderful meetings with your team to see what we can learn from the waste management and the renewable energies. Also, I would like to mention that this morning in Paris, at the military parade, the US Army was there alongside with the French Army for something very important because it is the 100th anniversary of the First World War and the year when the United States decided not to be neutral anymore, but to join the Allies, France, but also, of course, the United Kingdom and Canada and Australia and New Zealand, and come and end what was really a bloodshed. Millions of Americans supported Europe at that time. In 1918, 1 million American soldiers stationed in France. Unfortunately, around 100,000 never came back. And so by inviting the American troops today in Paris, we wanted to remember their sacrifice and celebrate our very long-time friendship between France and the United States. One last point, the French community is growing and the French community is very attached to its history, and I'm glad you mentioned it. There are several things which are going to happen. There's a big festival tomorrow in Justin Herman Plaza, which is a tradition we renew. It was organized in the 19th century and most of the 20th century. It stopped 20 or 25 years ago. We are very happy to renew with this tradition. And in September, we will organize a Heritage Day at the French residence with an exhibition about the history of the French community at the very early stages of the building of San Francisco, pointing out what the French brought to the city. And I think the big interest of this city and its strength, it's its diversity. And we are proud that we contributed to this diversity with our traditions, with our art de vivre in some economic sectors in particular. And I hope that many people will come to see this exhibition and celebrate this friendship between the city and San Francisco and France. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Mayor.
I think those with champagne. Mr. Mayor, would you like to propose a toast to this wonderful day?
To our histories, to our friendships, but also to the ongoing commitment that we will all together make this a better world. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you.
To San Francisco and our friendship.
Thank you.
French